Well, ladies and gentlemen, with 2 races to go, it is crunch time. Welcome around the world to the Invictus Racing League F1 series over here on the Xbox. It's round 10 of 11 here from Silverstone, where 7 of the 10 teams on the grid call this home, as well as the majority of the field as well. 3.6 miles around this 27 lap race, 2 DRS zones, 200 miles an hour. We could see at full speed, where you take the lap distance, 78%, that you will be completely on full throttle. 18 corners, 8 to the left, 10 to the right. And you get down to turn 3 in Village, the second of many heavy braking zones on the lap. For how many cars could we see come together down in there as you head into turn 9? Into Cops you go. It's a fast right-hander before you head on to the old start-finish straight. You might want to try to tangle before getting onto Maggots and Beckett's, and when you come out of Maggots and Beckett's, you're meted with turn 15 at Stowe, or much like Cops, we'll see who can have a commanding presence into the corner. As far as the tire compounds, the C1, the C2, and the C3, it's the hardest in the Pirelli range. The median's about 0.7 of a second slower. The hards, 1.4 seconds slower. It could be a 1-stop. It could be a 2-stop. We'll have to see who wants to jump on the longest pit lane on the calendar more than one time. And, of course, here in Britain, weather always could play a factor. The intermediate tires and the wet tires hanging around should we need to use them. Well, we might not be able to top last week's excitement in the streets of Marina Bay last week at Singapore, but we come to the United Kingdom with championships on the line. HK in the Red Bull. Should he win the race and DJ Danny finishes 5th or lower, he will take home the Drivers' Championship, as he will have the 9-point gap that he needs before we even reach the end of the calendar. And Red Bull could do the exact same should they finish 1-2 and both Racing Points fail to score a point. I'm not entirely sure that's going to happen, but Kendo, it's Drivers' Championship that it looks as though it's the more likely of the two, and especially around a place like Silverstone, we could see a lot of action happening out on track.
It's, like you said, depending on the circumstances. Favour. However, there is still a lot to play for this race and the next one, which final one being Monaco, so it'll be quite an adventure one with that as well. I'm excited to see what comes of Britain.
As per usual, it's the Racing Point that is first out of the garage, and it's a Racing Point team that I think we had a bit higher expectations for. They can still, I mean, they're more or less level with Red Bull on points. They're half a point behind the Honda-powered team, but as far as the Drivers' Championship, it's this man, James F1, who had it in his grasp at one point. He had taken it off of DJ Danny, but has suddenly lost touch with it over the past few races. His teammate taking home victory last week. It just hasn't quite panned out for him. He's certainly going to be looking to put in his best results for not only himself, but to try to put his team on the top step of the Constructors.
It's exactly that, and as I said, we've mentioned before, it's all about consistency, because we were just speaking about HK. He's wanting to make sure everything is right tonight, making sure that his settings are all green light and ready to go. So as you can see, HK is taking no chances here tonight. As we're getting ready for James F1 to begin his hot lap. He's just coming round just finished Maggots and Beckett's and coming round the long straight in readiness for, as we're saying, this hot lap to begin.
He's on those white-walled hard tires as he peels into the final chicane. Kendo, Silverstone, the famous circuit that it is, show us around.
Why not? So as you can see here, getting himself into hot lap. Turn 1 is a very tricky one. You've got to be fully committed to it. As you can see, all the way flat out, dropping down into 3, sometimes 2, just to get a little bit of traction. And speaking of traction, it gets a little bit loose. But bear in mind, it is for hard tyres, so he needs to get them up to temperature as it stands. Gets a nice launch out of there. Getting himself just fired up into that turn. It's a very aggressive into that turn, which sets himself nicely for this long right-hander, and then coming down the old back straight, well, the old pit straight, I should say, but it's now the back straight in leading up to the famous Maggots and Beckett's. So here we go. Aggressive into turn first one, dropping down into the second and third. Men is getting as early on the throttle as he possibly can. And then it's a flat out all the way coming up to this long right-hander. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him, however that's not going to affect him that much. As you can see, the drivers are getting well out the way. And his teammate just giving him a little bit of a tow as well. And as he crossed the line, he's the first driver to set a lap, and it's a 2:01. I beg your pardon. So yes, the first lap of the day.
Good start from what is typically the lead racing point. We touched on it a little bit, but so Sharks and what was probably the best race we've seen of the season, taking home victory last week, but that was a little bit of a rarity because it was Racing Point's first victory of the season. Even though James F1 finds himself in third place in the championship, he finds himself without a win. And that's really what has prevented him from really hanging around his title 97, who he jumped on board with in the middle of his lap on the soft tires, 26.8 from the Red Bull. So Red Bull as a team, not only HK, but his teammate as well, meaning business around here. They would love to take care of business today and not have to leave it to the streets of Monaco next week.
Exactly that, but as we say, it is just not quite in their hands at the moment, because only with a half a point difference in the constructors. We're looking at HK as looks like he's getting himself ready for a lap. So here we go. Oh, and just as we say that, he invalidates the turn 1. Such a shame for his first hot lap. But yet again, anything's possible if he comes in and resets again.
He had actually did his lap and just kind of continued on with it, and apparently the game decided that nope, you weren't going to get a second lap. So into the pit lane, most certainly he will go. On board with Leclerc now, who's invalidated his lap as well. You can just see trying to just fight the car through Maggots and Beckett's and down the hanger straight as he heads into a long right-hander. Just clipping a little bit of the grass there, saving the circuit a little bit of money, running out wide there. It's just, it has been one of those seasons for Ferrari that they just cannot seem to string together solid qualifying laps. It just hasn't quite been there, has it?
It certainly hasn't. We know the quality of the drivers is there, but as you say, it's the we've talked about all season consistency wins your championships, and at the moment the Ferrari drivers, for all the talent that they have, they just haven't produced the goods, which is such a shame. But with end of the day, this is getting everyone ready for the 2020 season, which will be in a lot of drivers' minds at the moment. And I'm sure for one, they'll be firing ready to go next season as well.
Ferrari only amassed 15 points this season. They'll look to try to close out this season on a relative high, and nearly did so last week at Singapore, but didn't quite come off for them in the end. They both finished outside the points, or at one point they were both in the points, and if I recall correctly, it was Leclerc just getting swallowed up by car after car. And the strategy not really working out for them as it did many of those at the front of the pack, but we're on board with Rimac now. He comes across the line to start his lap. A whole host of cars turn to the pit lane after setting their banker laps as he comes through turns 1, 2, and now 3. Gets the power down well. Doesn't even go below 65 miles an hour, just showing the amount of downforce and grip that Renault has inside of it as he peels onto the Wellington straight. Now comes around DRS wide open. Does he hit 200 miles an hour? 201 miles an hour from the Renault, getting the fastest first sector as he heads into Brooklands. And around he comes, and as you mentioned, back onto the old pit straight. The old start-finish line. He comes through here. You can see there's looks like his teammate is ahead of him. Just coming through Maggots and Beckett as Rimac is about to do so now, but this is a very good lap from the Scottish driver here in Great Britain. And as I say that, right off into the grass he goes. So when his teammate was there to potentially give him a slipstream, which he may still do, he's going to have lost a lot of time from that as he heads into the third and final sector. He's going to look to actually just continue this lap to at least get something on the timing sheets, but certainly the adventure off into the grass will have hurt his time, but he still jumps up into 8th. He's going to have to make up about 0.3 of a second should he want to make his strategy work, because Murphy on the mediums has set a 127.8, so a good lap from the Alfa Romeo. His teammate just coming around behind him as McLaren between them. You wonder if Rimac is going to hang this one out to try to get his teammate up onto pole position, which would be a huge point in terms of the championship, because it would pull DJ Danny to within, basically force HK into either getting the fastest lap or winning the race. It would be a bit taller of a task for the Red Bull driver to try to close out the championship today, but DJ Danny not setting the fastest first sector. And as a lot of drivers were saying earlier this week, Kendo, that Silverstone is not their best track. It's very difficult. It has a lot of different aspects to it, as he actually does set a fastest middle sector. He has his teammate for the slipstream who peels out of the way, allowing him to go past. That was extremely well done by the boys in the yellow and black as he peels into the final chicane. Now around the final corner he comes. DJ Danny in 3rd place as of now, heads up into pole position. 126.6 from the Renault. So as I mentioned, some of the drivers not saying that this is their best track, but DJ Danny caring not.
Exactly that. And you mentioned about the first sector. DJ Danny didn't set the purple sector 1. A lot of the drivers tend to set up their car for sector 2 and sector 3, which is a very tricky, as we know in sector 2 you've got the Maggots and Beckett's, and that's where they gain a lot of that time from. If they can get that turn right, the rest of the lap falls into place. It's all on that tricky and technical part of the track.
We're now with Liverpool Ewan, who is coming through Maggots and Beckett's now. You see just another driver peeling onto that grass. It's so hard to keep that car on the track, but he actually goes fastest in the middle sector regardless as he peels around long right-handed turn 15. Liverpool Ewan as he comes into the final chicane, currently in 3rd in that Toro Rosso. Has had a great back half of the season. As he improve his lap? No, he does not. 126.8 from him still stands. HK, who was on an outlap on the soft tires, has peeled back into the pit lane. Has yet to set a time along with Leclerc and Will Meck, who's filling in the Alfa Romeo tonight. The only man who's really on, well, who I thought might have been on a push lap was Lazark in the Williams. Doesn't seem like he is willing to continue that lap, and into the pit lane he goes. Again, the pit strategy is going to be all the more important, Kendo, because of the extremely long pit lane here at Silverstone.
Yes, exactly that, considering it takes a lot of time, as you've rightly just been saying there. It has to be a one-stop for the drivers, with the fact that it is ridiculously long. And like I say, that's why strategy has to come in. Can be last on the soft, as you can see. A lot of the front runners are basing themselves on that soft compound tires. Only HRC that is setting his time on the medium, which is not a bad lap considering the 1:37.3 on their mediums. In my eyes, he's the one to watch if things stays VR.
It's 127.3, as you mentioned, sits fourth right now, ahead of last week's winner, Serge Sharks, a 127.4 from the Racing Point behind him, but watching Lando Nor now in the pass, crossing the line, starting his lap. He's going to try to better his 128.6. We know that he can really fly around some of these tracks, and in that Haas on the soft tires, what kind of performance can we expect out of him this week? He missed out last week due to an unfortunate injury. We really were hoping for the best from him, and he's come back and said that he is doing well and in great spirits, so it's nice to see him back out racing once more as he peels through now the beginning of the middle sector, looking to improve on his now what was 16th place, 17th place now, but you can see him, he's just got a little bit squirmy coming out of that corner. You can just see plenty of drivers more or less losing the back end as he does so again there, as he's about to head through Maggots and Beckett's. And you just wonder if the car setups again just are not quite where they need to be for some of these drivers, but
yeah, considering a lot of the drivers will set up for Maggots and Beckett's, and it all depends on their the Maverick downforce, differential, and also the braking zone, brake bias. There's a lot of tweaks that need to be made, and you could see Lando North got a little bit loose in Maggots and Beckett, so he does have time to find, and he's moved himself up into P11 on a 1:26.866, so he could improve on that time. I don't think he'll have a lot of time to do that.
Well, one of the only drivers yet to set a lap, HK, who's on his lap now, coming down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands. He comes around, he goes through the middle sector. HK looking to do everything he can to not have to rely on the streets of Monaco, which is almost the exact reverse of Silverstone. It's a very tight and fragile track. This can be extremely long and flowing. You can see here the Red Bull coming through Maggots and Beckett's. He's held it together well, avoids a little bit of that grass on the outside, which we've seen so many drivers collect already here with 1:45 to go. Plenty on their outlaps as well. You can see the traffic on the right side of your screen, and HK running extremely wide out of that turn 15 and into the final chicane he comes. HK trying to set himself up, and he only gets up into 5th position, and I highly doubt, as it looks like he does want to tee up for another lap here. He doesn't quite have the ERS to try to get around on a full-on push lap. We'll have to see. Yeah, he's turning the car down. I didn't really think he was gonna go out on another full send lap. He certainly pieced it together, and right as we jumped on board with DJ Danny, 126.5 from the Renault, which is exactly the way he needed to start his British Grand Prix here this Sunday night. It's going to be Ryan 97, the Red Bull teammate, trying to help out his teammate to try to take it off him. Doesn't happen. 126.7 from the Red Bull with just over 30 seconds to go in the qualifying. Who can potentially take pole position off of DJ Danny to prevent him getting that point that he needs? HRC, not him. Actually, he looks like he's starting a lap, so we'll check in with him later. Sir Sharks, who's peeling around, about to head onto the old pit straight. Could he potentially spoil DJ Danny's party? You can see Ryan 97 also about to peel onto the pit straight. HK is retired from the session, so he won't get that point. It looks like the first to come through will be Sir Sharks of all those who are on their final laps. James F1 retiring from 6th position. Racing point down the hangar straight he comes. Around he goes, and you just see even more running out wide. He sits in 10th as it stands. Can he potentially work his way into the top 5, even beat his teammate? Rounding the final corner, up into 3rd goes Sir Sharks, and we'll jump on board quickly with Ryan 97, who's right behind him. And Ryan 97, pole position, 126.1 from him, unless Liverpool Ewan might have something to say about it as he rounds now the final corner. Can he whip something out? No. Liverpool Ewan starting 3rd, just getting ahead of Sir Sharks. And Kendo, the point that DJ Danny could have really used in this title fight, he will not have because of the Red Bull team. Really, it might not have been designed to work well together, but that's the way it's happened.
Yeah, considering the fact that at the start of the season, Ryan 97 wasn't his team. It was the XT League, where unfortunately there had to be a little reverse change. However, it's been to the benefit of the Red Bulls. 2 races to go. Prime position, Ryan on pole with that 126.1. Cracking time from him, and the drivers just making their way in pits and just finishing off this qualifying session.
We're just waiting on Maniac to hop into the pit lane, but Leclerc and Lil Mick failed to set laps, so if that just says Ferrari's season in a nutshell, with Leclerc down in 19th, which could potentially be to his advantage. We don't know what kind of carnage there will be at turn 1, but definitely interesting to see a Ferrari down there. In 97 on pole by over 0.3 of a second. He has DJ Danny for company on the front row. Liverpool Ewan and Sir Sharks, the two that were the highlight last week at Singapore, start on the second row. And Murphy and HK, who is going to try to take home the championship today, but he's going to have 5 positions to gain if he wants to do so. He starts down in 6th. James F1 and Lazurk make up the 4th row. They start 7th and 8th as Maniac and HRC round out the top 10. All drivers except James F1 on the soft tires. James F1 on the medium, so potential strategy switch for him. Jamie Roddy and Ricardo make up the 6th row down in 11th and 12th. Fairmoto, who got his first podium of the season, his highest finish so far this season, and the only podium for Williams, starts down in 13th. He has Rimac in the Renault for company. Matt Swainus, Lando Nort down in 15th and 16th. PJ and Jamie 29 occupy each other on the 9th row down in 17th and 18th. And the two that didn't set times, Leclerc and Lil Mick, 19th and 20th. Of course, the bottom 10 all have free tire choice. You wonder what we could see them go on to, because for a track that has the hardest of the compounds, It just already tells you right there that this track is not easy on tires at all.
Certainly isn't. As you can see, the weather might play a part as well, because a little bit of grey cloud out there. So potentially the weather could come and alter the look of the race. But yet again, we don't know. We haven't had that information from what I believe. So we'll see how it gets on.
Yeah, it's supposed to be just dry but overcast. That is about what is going to be the case. So no rain in the forecast, but with it being overcast, the tires might actually be able to extend because the track temperatures won't be potentially as high as some maybe expect, because it can get very warm around this Silverstone circuit. But fortunately for the drivers and their tires, it won't have to play much of a factor today.
It's exactly that. Oh, and what's going on here? Might have some sort of...
Looks like the lobby has glitched out ever so slightly. We may have to find ourselves out of this one.
Yeah, we'll just find out what's going on at this moment in time. Yes, and I do believe we have had that confirmation in our chats saying restarting lobby. So yes, as you can see, a little bit of technical difficulties. A few drivers getting away just to show that they can have a little bit of a race. Let's see if they can have a little race away for a couple of laps so you can win this race.
Somehow the Toro Rosso is going to be able to find his way all the way back around before anybody's even left the grid. But in terms of now, because the top 10 are going to get fresh soft tires, so how could that potentially play in the hands of everybody really except James F1, who elected to start on the mediums? He's not going to have that advantage anymore.
Certainly isn't, and that's going to play a major part in this strategy altogether. It's going to be an interesting one to call here. Obviously, we're just waiting for it to reset, and obviously at this point, the lobby host will have to just make sure that we have all the starting lineup correct, and obviously the weather settings. But that's going to make an impact as well. Is it going to be set on dynamic, or is it going to be still set on that all-important weather as it was in the race? I'm going to guess it will, but it's just little details.
You would think.
Yeah, it's all about the detail.
Yeah, but if we want to make things interesting, we could add a little sprinkle of rain at the end of the race.
Yeah, we certainly could. We'll love nothing more than the spice up in the British Grand Prix. Just getting some information. Well, and seeing the Twitch chat, a few of the DXT boys shouting out to their boy HK, so we know where their support going to at the moment. We're just waiting on the lobby to restart now. Going to be interesting to see how the weather does pan out for this race and the fresh set of tyres.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in, HK does need 9 points to win the championship. So, should he win the race, DJ Danny would have to finish 5th or lower in order for him to secure the title today. Even if he does get the fastest lap, DJ Danny can still finish 5th, and it would stay level 4. Now, should the Red Bull finish 2nd, Danny 8th or lower would have the job done with the fastest lap. Danny would have to improve his position by 1 up to 7th. And if he finishes lower than that, the title will head to HK 3rd, 10th or lower. 4th in the fastest lap, DJ Danny would have to fail to score points. That hasn't happened many times this season, but it is always very possible that we could see an incident like Germany, which that incident looms extremely large now, because what was a second place finish turned into a DNF. And if you remember, if you joined us for that race all the way back in week 4, DJ Danny spun into the wall off of turn 1 on the final lap of the race out of podium position. And he had those points really coming back to bite him now, because the points that he would have had would have seen him first in the Drivers' Championship. So it just shows that one incident can prove extremely vital in the long run.
Exactly that, and it goes to as you were quite rightly saying about the fact that one little thing can change the championship. Bear in mind, HK is still yet to. We're still waiting on this lobby getting in. Will HK have an issue where in the race tonight? Will DJ Danny have an issue? It's going to be interesting going into that turn 1, as you say, because we're seeing what happened in Germany, and it's going to be all heads down going into that turn 1, because it's quite a similar turning really to Germany. Not quite as aggressive, but it's got every potential the same as that fateful Germany start.
But we are still waiting on things to reset here. So let's see if well, I guess it's just a waiting game now, because we'll just have to be patient to try to get everybody back in the lobby and try to get everything squared away, the grid realign, the weather sorted once more. But it looks like we've joined back, and everybody seems to be more or less in the lobby. We're still missing 2, and yourself, Kendo. Can't forget you.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my invite at the moment, but obviously the drivers are the main priority to get in at this point in time, so they can sort out the grid, which is fully understandable, because the sooner that they do that, the sooner that they can get the lobby restarted. So obviously the priority is the drivers right now, and as you can see on stream, there's only really one more driver to come in, and myself. And then we will be getting ourselves underway once again.
So we're waiting on a McLaren and an Alfa Romeo to hop into the lobby yet again. And after that happens, we will be underway. But I think it'll be very interesting, Kendo, because we know the tire wear around here can be extremely high, but now that the top 10 have fresh tires, it's almost going to encourage the back half of the grid to try a different strategy.
It's exactly that, considering the fact that there is fresh tyres, but bear in mind the front drivers also have them fresh soft tyres. And just as I say that, I have just had my invite into the lobby right now, so it's a case of getting out, remembering to put myself on spectate. There we go. Yes, we'll have to see how the tyres pan out. Because will they choose to stay on them? Because you've seen a few drivers electing to go onto the soft compound tyres out of the top 10. There wasn't that many of them. Will they change their mind and select the medium compound tyre? Or will they still stick on softs, knowing that they all will have fresh tyres? So it's going to be an interesting one on this restart, indeed. But obviously, it's going to be quite a tricky process at the moment for Leclerc. As you can see, the lobby host having to rejig the grid to make sure everyone's in the right position. So, as always, a job that you don't necessarily notice going on. Little things that have to happen in the background to make this spectacle happen.
Well, it's certainly going to be interesting to see exactly what the I guess, the ability to try to find that different strategy outside of the top 10, because especially with the pit lane being as long as it is, because I think it would almost be advantageous to maybe say, right, go aggressive at the back of the grid and try the two-stop and just see what happens, because safety cars and anything else that could happen. Well, just try it. You might as well go for it.
Exactly that, because bear in mind, if it does turn out to be the safety car, and it is very late on in the race, it might be beneficial to switch it around and be on soft compound tyres at the end of the race. But again, it's going to all be based on instinct and reacting to what is happening on track. Because bear in mind, a lot of the drivers at the front of the race will be kind of trying to shadow each other. So that's going to be an interesting one. Who'll try and do the undercut, who will try and prolong their strategy deeper into the race. With the overcut, however, we do know in this game the undercut is very powerful in this game, but the risk is you have difficulties at the end of the race. As we can see, the lobby is now green lighted, and we are about to get going once again.
We're headed on a collision course for 26 laps of Silverstone action. It should be a fun one, even though we've had to wait about 15 more minutes than we normally do in order to get things underway, but that's not an issue at all. But I think, Kendo, it's going to be, we're going to really have to watch and see exactly what tires everybody is going to start on, because that's going to be the fascinating thing here, is what compounds will the back half of the grid use, because the front half are going to be obviously locked to their compounds. They will be fresh tires, but they won't get the opportunity to try a reverse strategy other than James F1, who qualified on his medium tires. But I think it'll be very, very interesting to see exactly who tries any sort of switch strategy.
It's exactly that, and because bear in mind, at this point in time, if you are starting on them medium compound tyres, you can go a lot longer into the race and keep them softs fresh for at the end when you want to attack them most. And that's usually something that the likes of myself, who could be further down the grid, does look at. We do have a couple of drivers that were in the top 10 that did start on that, so it could be an advantage for him, because that's what I was saying in the qualifying. That is going to be very interesting one to watch as his race turns out compared to the rest of the top 10.
Well, we know the pace of Leclerc down in 19th is, he could be one to watch, and one for the top 10 to potentially watch to see what his strategy looks like, because if he's going to be starting from 19th, he might want to just potentially play it safe, and if he does so, that could signal exactly when to pit off of the soft tires for the front half of the grid, because if they see him diving into the pit lane potentially on a medium tire before they even make their first stop, it could be an indicator if the mediums don't quite feel right and it goes straight to the hards.
Very true, and I'm just having a look at the driver's situation at the moment. It looks like Rimac, Mats, and PJ is looking like they are going to start off on the medium compound tyre. So it's going to be a potential interesting one there. The rest of the people have, as it currently stands, selected the soft compound tyre. Just to give you an update on the grid situation.
We are waiting for Leclerc to get this lobby underway. It's taking a bit longer than I think it normally does. We're underway. It is not Leclerc who has queued things up. It is Mats who has reacted accordingly in the driver's chat. But I think we had more or less approach the time that we needed.
Looks like the chat's going in, as you can see, is kind of heating up in there, the driver's room. So we are about to get ourselves underway. I don't think Matt's intentionally meant to do that, but here we go. Formation lap is underway.
Right, so to give you a refresher, Ryan 97 on the softs, DJ Danny softs, Liverpool Ewan soft tires, Sir Sharks, Murphy, and HK all on the soft tires. It's James F1, the lone driver in the top 10 on the medium tires, as Lazart and the Williams, Maniac, and HRC also on the mediums as well. Jamie, Roddy, Ricardo, and Ferramoto all electing for the softs. Rymac, Matt's going on to the mediums, Lando Nor onto the softs. PJ, mediums for him, Jamie 29, Leclerc, and Lil Mick on the softs as well. So the benchmark for the front runners could be potentially PJ or James F1, depending on who they want to look at, to try to get an idea of exactly how fast those medium tires are going to fall off. And James F1 could use everyone in front of him to see exactly how fast the soft tires go off, should he elect to go for a 2-stop or try to go on the hards to make it a 1-stop.
Exactly that, and it's going to be interesting as well, because my understanding, I was under the impression only James F1 was starting out on the mediums in the top 10. That, if I was not mistaken, HRC qualified on the soft, so that's going to be something to have for the stewards and have to be having a look at the end of this race. Obviously the lobby situation hasn't exactly panned out as we would have liked, so apologies about the delay. Ryan is about to make his way onto the grid and the racing is about to get underway. Let's see how turn 1 pans out.
Drivers have been trying to do everything they can to try to heat up those tires. It's quite cool at Silverstone here today. The clouds have formed overhead. No rain is expected, but it's certainly shielded the sun from the track as drivers lining up on the grid ready to get things underway. You see there's a Ferrari and Alfa Romeo just teeing up back there ready to get things underway, but it is a Red Bull on pole position, waiting for the lights to come on. There they go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights now. Ready to go at Silverstone, and we're racing here in Great Britain. Ryan 97 not getting away very well, and DJ Danny's already going to have the inside line heading through turn 1, but he regains the outside line. Ryan 97 holding that first position as DJ Danny look to maybe go down the inside. Everybody's maintaining. Oh, there's a Toro Rosso. It's been completely spun around in the background. It's Maniac who finds himself relegated all the way down to the back of the field as they peel down the Wellington Straight now. Carbon fiber flying everywhere. You can see it in the background. Murphy has gotten past Liverpool Ewan up into 4th position for the Alfa Romeo here on the first lap. Ryan 97 hasn't really found a way, much like his teammate did a few weeks back, to really peel away from the rest of the pack as Ryan 97 into Stowe he goes, and around into Maggots and Beckett's we come. DJ Danny really closing in on the Red Bull in front of him, looking for that win, looking to try and do everything he can to make up the points that he lost in Germany, to try to make amends for 6 weeks ago. He's going to have to do it somewhat quickly as HK looks to go around the outside at Kopp's corner of the Racing Point, who started on the mediums. James F1 holding his line, just showing HK off the track. Great defending from the Racing Point. HK gonna have to hold that 6th position as things stand after lap 1 here at Silverstone. Ryan 97, DJ Danny, Sir Sharks, Murphy, and James F1 make up your top 10. And you can see already Liverpool Ewan starting to drop back from the top 6. 1.2 seconds behind is the Toro Rosso. And it looks like and Rimac is out. Rimac is out of this race, potentially with an incident.
Safety car deployed.
And the safety car is out. So, Lil Mick and Ferramoto, who have just pitted after potentially the first lap incident. We're not entirely sure what happened. We're trying to find someone to go on board with, potentially see what the result of that incident was, but the safety car has been deployed. It will neutralize everything and bring the grid right back together. PJ and Ferramoto, Lil Mick as well, getting free pit stops out of that. Rimac already crashing out here as we are heading around for lap number 2. I don't think the safety car will be out very long because those 3 that did pit are not that far away. It'll just depend on exactly how fast they want to go.
Exactly that, and at the moment I'm currently trying to have a look to see where Rimac actually did come off, because I'm just riding around with Ferramoto at the moment just to see if there's any debris around. It'll be interesting to find out what actually happened.
So it looked like they were off at turns 1 and 2. Actually, I guess that would be more turn 3, wouldn't it? Down at near the end of the first sector, they seemed to come together. It was I believe it might have been a Williams and the Renault of Rimac that came together. You can see Wazirk, Jamie 29, so both Mercedes in the pit lane. That could particularly prove somewhat disastrous, as one goes out and the other got held up by his teammate, who now gets underway. What on earth happened there? Mercedes, a little bit of a double stack into the pit lane from them. Kind of, if you actually want to get Rimac in here, maybe he could fill us in on exactly what happened down at turn 3 to end his race extremely prematurely.
I most certainly will. I'll keep you updated.
Now, as I mentioned before, the safety car, we thought, might not have stayed out for very long, but a whole other group of pit stops has prevented that from happening. But Sir Sharks up into 3rd, Murphy up into 4th, and James F1 fending off HK on the first lap of this race. And the two have actually swapped positions and dropped Liverpool Ewan, who started in 3rd, found himself all the way down into 7th position, as we are about to conclude lap number 3 around here at Silverstone, as we are following the safety car for the 2nd lap. Do we have Rimac?
We most certainly do. Just obviously find out what, from his perspective, how it all panned out.
Ryan, so we didn't catch it, but what exactly happened between you and was it a Williams that you tangled with?
I'm not too sure who the contact was with. Coming through turn 1, I found myself looking to make a move up the inside of the car in front, but after rounding turn 2, a car rejoined from the left hand side towards the middle of the track, and caught me a little bit off guard. Meant I needed to adjust my car's line under braking, and unfortunately not having the car completely straight sent me through the car in front. Complete terminal damage, unfortunately. I did have a rotten gut feeling before the race even started, but it's just one of these things, unfortunately. Early finish, early shower.
Early shower it is indeed. I don't think anyone expects their race to end on the 2nd lap. That's certainly been the case, Ryan. You're more than welcome to stick around if you want, but we're following the safety car around for lap number 4. I would think it would be in this lap, as Matt's at the back of the grid, has caught up to everyone else as we come back onto the old pit straight. see that everybody has caught up to the rest of the field. They're coming around Stoke into Maggot and Beckett once more. We've done more laps under the safety car, of course, than we have racing. And after that long break due to the connection issues, it certainly has kept everyone on their toes, especially us here in the booth, to get this underway and get racing here once more. There you can see confirmation at the bottom left of your screen. The safety car is in this lap. Ryan 97 now becoming essentially the safety car as he weaves around trying to get temperature back into those soft compound tires. It's bought him and those behind him who stayed out on the softs a few laps on those because they're not racing on. They're not at full tension. It looks like he is going to go now. The safety car has peeled into the pit lane. Ryan 97 has gone away. Remember, they can't make any moves until they recross the start-finish line, so he's done extremely well to already gain nearly a second on DJ Danny as they cross the line. James F1, and oh, we have Murphy around, and potentially James F1 as well. Looks like Murphy has dropped all the way down into 13th place. James might be had a lot of front wing damage on that Alfa Romeo. You can see there the yellow flag has been shown, but no safety car required on the restart. James F1, I think he said, may have been involved in that incident as well. We'll take a look at him to see if he has any damage on the racing point as he tries to hunt down HK, who got past him initially and now is split between the two racing points. He's going to have to jump. He's going to have to jump a few more positions should he want to capture the title here today. Liverpool Ewan is really starting to fall back from James F1 as well. 3/10 is that gap now, and it's getting ever so slightly larger the more laps we head into this race. Ricardo is about to start coming under pressure from Lando Norr in the Haas behind him. Will he potentially have a look down the inside? He does indeed. A late move to the inside. Ricardo can't really do much of anything. It actually goes off the track to potentially hang on to that position. Ricardo maintaining 7th position there. You can see it on your screen, but he has Lando Norr really climbing all over his back. But up ahead, James F1 and Liverpool Ewan, that gap that was expanding is no longer doing so. It's actually compressing once more. James F1 trying to hold on to 5th position to make his strategy works. He can't be losing too many positions here on the opening laps of this race. We've already had one safety car as Liverpool Ewan might look to go down the inside at Brooklands. He does indeed, but it's going to turn into the outside line quite quickly through here. James F1, can he get the power down as the two may have banged wheels ever so slightly? They do there. James F1 and Liverpool Ewan side by side as they head down the old pitch straight. They are still wheel to wheel as they're going to come through Stowe. James F1 is going to have the line and just push Liverpool Ewan ever so slightly out wide. You can see there they've taken to their respective lines through. And so Sharks is out. So Sharks has potentially found himself in the wall, and the safety car is out once more. I'm wondering if that's just another Maggots and Beckett's incident, because it's so easy to simply lose the car through there and really find yourself in the wall in about 150 miles an hour.
Certainly does look that way, and it's just unfortunate that it's also triggered the safety car. Now, the interesting thing is, will a lot of drivers pit to go onto the hards right now? That's going to be the interesting one to see. See a lot of drivers pitting. What will they all start to choose? We'll find out in just a second. Ryan's gone on the hards. Liverpool Ewan was still waiting for the confirmations. A few people decided to go out mediums. A couple on hards as well.
Hards on the Toro Rosso. Mediums for Ricardo. Maniac, the other Toro Rosso. What could he potentially head on to? Mediums for him. HK has gone on to mediums as well. So it does look like very, very split thinking, split strategies between all the drivers, but it's somewhat Kendo left DJ Danny out to dry because he stayed out on the softs and he's become the leader of this race. A track position, unlike next week around Monaco, where it's track position is everything, you can get a move done around here. It's not the hardest thing in the world. We've already seen plenty of moves. Both McLarens up into 3rd and 4th as well. Jamie 29 has somehow found his way up into 5th. Remember, he made that early pit stop under the safety car, and it has apparently worked out for him because he's found his way up into 5th position on somewhat fresh medium tires.
Exactly that, and I'm actually quite surprised the fact that DJ Danny hasn't gone in and covered himself with that fact of being able to go on to the medium compound tyre. And the interesting fact is the people that have pitted on the mediums could go to the end. It's going to be tight, or they choose a little bit more of an aggressive strategy and pit once more for the softs. So that's the option the medium tyres do have. However, I am fully expecting the people that have pitted for the hard will go to the end as HK pits once again.
He's come into the pit lane, and we talked about beforehand how costly this pit lane is. Potentially a mistake from the Red Bull pit crew. We're going to see what he goes on to. It's going to be a front wing change, so he didn't get his front wing change when he was in last, and he's going to be relegated all the way to the back of the pack. It's going to be interesting to see if he comes out in front of Murphy. No, he's not even going to come close to coming out around Murphy. He's going to be relegated to the back of the field. So any particular title shot and title aspirations that HK had might have to be put on hold until next week, because right now the man who's hunting him down leads the race up in that first position, and James F1 right behind him as well. So this has become extremely interesting. How important does that pit stop be in the long run of this title race?
Extremely crucial for HK now to try and make moves up the field as quickly as he possibly can. Right now, DJ Danny must be thinking, let's stretch the tyres on them softs for a little bit longer and hopefully try and get to pit on them medium compound tyres. However, we know this track can be tricky, especially in that Maggots and Beckett's. Will anything happen? Just as I'm on board currently with HK, who's just gone off the track coming into Maggots and Beckett's, so that's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, let's see how it pans out this race. We're waiting for HK to catch up. Just I'll say that safety car's coming in.
That's DJ Danny now essentially as the safety car. Will he wait as long to, or as short rather, to wait for the safety car coming in? He hasn't. He's gone already. DJ Danny on the soft tires is going to have to make these work, and it looks like he's probably going to go for a one-stop strategy as he peels around the final corner. But James F1 has stuck right with him. Berserk into the pit lane as well. You wonder if there was damage there. We saw him pick up a 5-second penalty under the safety car. Ryan 97 already making a move after the safety car restart. He's done well to make sure that he's done it after the start-finish line. Up into 7th for the Red Bull, and there is plenty of action going on at the back of the field. Lando North is now out of this race. Yellow flag in Sector 1. No safety car required there. There's plenty of action going on. We're going to try to do everything we can. Everything on the screen and not omit anything. Leclerc, who started 19th up into 11th, now hunting for some more points to add to his tally. Fairmoto now is, there's a McLaren that was spun round, got the power down far too early. The McLaren has spun around on the exit of Stowe. That is not what McLaren needed, as they were running third and fourth, and at the end of the day, finding himself first into the grass is Ryan 97 now trying to look to get a move done around the outside of Ferramoto. Williams just showing him to the outside, not allowing any move to be done, but he doesn't look like he's going to have any more to give into the chicane. You can see Jamie 29 getting really caught by Ferramoto and Ryan 97, and he's starting to fall away from the top three. The gap is 2.8 seconds and rapidly growing to the top three. Now 3 seconds it is from Jamie 29 to the rest of the field, and that is exactly what Ryan 97 and his teammate HK did not need, as the Williams and Jamie 29 look to go side by side as they peel back inside. DRS not enabled. You can see it. Oh, they've banged wheels. Ryan 97 tried to have a look around the outside to make it 3 wide. It didn't quite work out in the end. Ferramoto hanging in there well. Ricardo has actually gained a place due to the incident, and Ryan 97 is going to suffer from losing a lot of downforce. He's being hunted by a pair of Toro Rossos now. You can see right behind him, they're going to be working together. Ewan on the hards, Maniac on the mediums to try to get around Ryan 97. The yellow flag is out, and another safety car has come out, and this time it's for an Alfa Romeo who seems to have lost it on the exit of Stowe. It's the third safety car of the race, and now DJ Danny into the pit lane. HRC will take the lead of this race. James F1 also into the pits off of the medium tires. Jamie 29, Ryan 97 is going to get a shot at fixing his wing. It'll be his second stop, but he's going to be able to get a fresh set of tires as well, and a new wing. Medium tires for DJ Danny, soft tires for James F1. There's an interesting development. That could be interesting to see how it goes. He's maybe looked at DJ Danny, Kendo, and said, right, your softs can do 9 laps, my mediums did 9 laps, let's take it the same distance.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be an interesting observation to try and keep an eye on. But right now, the thing that's caught my eye is from the back of the grid, HK is now up to P5. He's just been sneaking his way up the grid, and he's just been flying under the radar.
Well, he's really, car has really put him back into this race, and after a mistake by the Red Bull pit crew, he's been bailed out by the safety car and the retirement of Murphy. Who becomes our 4th retirement of the race, following Rimac, Sir Sharks, Lando, Nor, and Murphy. And the retirement of Sir Sharks has somewhat opened the door for Red Bull to really pull a gap in the constructors, because remember, if you finish 1-2, Red Bull, without James F1 getting any points, as he sits in 10th as it stands, should they finish 1-2, they take home the constructors as of now. But 1 racing point out of the equation. If James F1 falls out of the top 10, it's really all on him now to keep racing point in this fight.
Very much is that case. At this point in time in P10, he needs to pull something out of the bag and produce a spectacular race to the finish. However, on them soft compound tyres, will they last the distance, or will they start falling off and he gets swept up at the end? That's the questions that I'll be asking, and so will the other drivers around him be asking as well.
We have done 11 laps. We are on lap 12 now. I believe we've raced more laps under the safety car, Kendo, than we have actually racing, which isn't exactly what we wanted to see, but it has definitely added some interest into this race.
It's exactly that. It's not exactly the race, as you rightly say, that we want to end up seeing. However, it's this sort of environment that the drivers have to think on their feet. When the safety car comes in, it's picking the right call, when to pit, when not to pit. And end of the day, it's those people that are keeping their minds fresh, keeping their heads in the game. That's what's going to win you races in this point in time, making the right calls, right plays at the right time. And at the moment, HRC is currently leading the Grand Prix at the moment. However, 11 lap old tyres, we can't forget that.
If you want to even think about it, it's Ricciardo that might actually benefit from this. 5 laps on the medium tires. He pitted under the previous safety car. The safety car once again will indicate that it's coming in this lap. HRC becomes the new safety car. As you can see the whole field trying to snake around, get temperature into those tires. HRC really doing a job to bunch up this grid. Ricciardo might actually benefit from this to petition. Oh, and DJ Danny has just picked himself up a 5-second time penalty for contact with James F1 as we are racing here once again to start lap 13. You can see already Ferramoto climbing all over the back of that McLaren to try to get around him. He couldn't do it before the start-finish line, and HRC knew that. He's done well to keep Ferramoto behind, and will the Williams potentially have a little look. He's taken a very tight line and will look to potentially get a switch back as he tried to go potentially down the inside of the McLaren. It didn't quite work in the end. Ricciardo now is going to try to gain on the back of them and clear as much distance as he can from Maniac to HK and his teammate Leclerc, who starting from 19th all the way up into 6th. So Ferrari's having a great showing here so far, provided any more unseen more safety cars, it really should be said, but HRC leading this race, Ferramoto trailing him. Remember, Ferramoto on the podium for the first time, back in a podium position here for the 3rd week in a row at some point. Remember, Ferramoto around Canada held the lead at one point in the race. It was only 3/4 of a lap. He still held the first position at some point in time during this season. You can see in the background, HK looking to get a move done on the Toro Rosso. The move is done. Exiting the corner they go down into the final chicane. DJ Danny up into 7th as well. And Jamie 29 may have had himself an incident. He has indeed. The Mercedes off into the grasses at the exit of Cops. And that is not exactly what we wanted to see. Ricciardo, 3-second time penalty. Maniac, a 3-second time penalty. Both with furious defending from HK, who was climbing his way all the way back up the field, who was relegated down into 18th at one point, back up into 4th, courtesy of that safety car. But you can see this whole train trying to weave around, break the slipstream, and HK may look go down the inside, and they'll bang wheels with Ricciardo, and HK might be right. Always hunting into and it's Ricciardo who's come off worse in the Ferrari. HK with a great bit of driving to keep that Red Bull facing the right direction. It looked like almost certainly, Kendo, he was about to go for a spin.
It most certainly was, and HK got completely surprised by the breaking point of their motor, and that what set off the chain of events. And as we talked about their motor, just picking up the 3-second time penalty there for multiple warnings. But yeah, so very quick and instinctive driving there by HK. It's unfortunate for him, but it looks like the contact was with Leclerc. Or might be actually hard, who's dropped down actually to P8. So we were talking about him potentially having the track position. He's now back into P8.
more or less keep that Ferrari facing the correct direction. HRC has pulled out a 1 second lead to Ferramoto up at the front. We're on board with this battle here for 6 places. DJ Danny banging wheels ever so slightly as Ryan 97 might have a little bit of another look at Ricardo. DRS for the Red Bull looks to go down the inside, might have the move done already before the corner. Into Brooklands they go. Ryan 97 looks like he has this move done. Will Ricardo try to gain the wider line and get the better launch out of the corner? No, he won't be able to keep that, and he might now actually come under pressure from Liverpool U and the Toro Rosso behind him, but actually at the front it's Ferramoto and HK going to battle this one out. Ferramoto, we've seen some good defensive driving from him before. How well can he keep the storming Red Bull at bay for long? Down the hanger straight they come. DRS for the Red Bull, not even a chance for Ferramoto as he tries to keep the inside line, but HK comfortably taking second place. That was more of an elementary move. Ferramoto potentially down the inside again, and Ferramoto with a great bit of driving to keep the man who's on for the championship today at bay. They're still wheel to wheel as they head down the Starfish. Oh, and HK has actually saves the car again as the Red Bull driver keeping it on the track. It looked like for a second he might have been shooting into the wall, but HK managing to keep that Red Bull on the track for a second time in a row, the second time in as many laps. You see DJ Danny getting past Leclerc and James F1 doing the same. Remember, James F1 pitted for the soft tires, and with now 10 laps here left, Ferramoto and HK still squabbling for second place. They bang wheels on the exit of the corner as they head around onto the old start-finish straight. HK is going to look to go down the inside. They're still battling this one out. Ferramoto is pulled out. Oh, and there goes HK around, and HK is off, and there might be his title aspirations rolling into the gravel from this week. As DJ Denny, yellow flag is out for Sector 2. DJ Danny is now up into 4th place. How could this potentially spice up the championship battle for the Drivers' Championship? You can see HK, those tires are now blazing hot. Those yellow striped medium tires, he can't really get the power down. He's lost so much time trying to fight for second position. We didn't quite get to see it perfectly, but Ferramoto, with all credit to him, held on to that second place. We have to see it again, but as of now, Ryan 97 doing everything he can to try to climb back up the grid himself. Juniorati, 3-second time penalty for him. Maniac and DJ Danny. Kendra, I don't know if you saw the incident yourself, but it looked to me like HK got a little bit potentially frustrated and was trying to just get a move done faster than he maybe probably should have.
Well, from how I was seeing it at that point in time, we were both coming side by side going into that right-hander on the old pit straight, and Ferramoto has just put the race in line when HK is on his right-hand side. But again, it's going to be, I'm sure, one for the stewards to have a look at.
Well, the stewards are going to have to take a look at a lot of things around here. We've had 4 retirements after 16 laps. We're on lap number 17 now. As you can see, Maniac trying to tee up Ferramoto. He doesn't look like he's going to do it this time, but DJ Danny is all over the back of them as well. The 3 in front of the Renault have yet to pit off their 17, 15, and 10 lap old medium tires, and James F1 and DJ Danny look to be scrapping it out as well. As James F1, will he have the inside line? He peels back in, will take the racing line. The soft tires in the Racing Point really starting to pay off here. Is down the inside. DJ Danny goes on the Toro Rosso, but that inside line, as the 4 cars come together here, you can just see there's absolute chaos heading through the first sector. Everybody keeping things straight and tidy, more or less. Doesn't look to be much wing damage. You can see DJ Danny trying to battle it out with Maniac to try to get away from James F1, who has come right onto his gearbox. Maniac having none of that, showing DJ Danny off the track, and he might lose yet another position due to it. James F1 up into fourth position. He's still wheel to wheel with the Renault as they head through Stowe. James F1, fourth position now for him. He's going to have to wait potentially after Maggots and Beckett's to try to have a look at RSF1 Maniac, who's done 11 laps on the mediums. Ryan 97 looks to have had himself a moment. He's off in the gravel, and he's off into the wall. And it's another horrendous week for Red Bull. They found themselves in the wall a whole host of times. They find both of their drivers out of the points. The virtual safety car has been deployed for that incident. HRC, Maniac into the pit lane. Fairmoto electing not to pit under the virtual safety car. So that could be an interesting choice. DJ Danny up into second for him due to a whole host of pit stops. HRC, Maniac, James F1, Leclerc, Ricardo. Could the Ferraris be double stacking here potentially? There's one Ferrari. Oh, the wing had to be changed. The other one you can see sitting in the background. The green flag has been waved. That is a very, very poorly timed double stack from the Ferraris, which looked to be on for a very good result. You've seen it. Their progress stopped dead in their tracks into the pit lane, but James F1, he's gone on the soft tires, Kendo. He can probably go to the end of the race.
Yeah, for sure he can go all the way to the end on them soft compound tyres. But again, you can see that clouds are starting to definitely be getting a lot greyer. So the track temperatures will be a lot cooler, which will help them tyres last a little bit longer as well. So a lot of factors to consider for the drivers at this current time at the moment. Lap 19 out of 26 on board with Jamie 29, who's having a little bit of a battle with Maniac at the moment. So let's see how this plays out in Maggots and Beckett's, as Maniac is looking to have a go at Jamie 29 at the end of the Maggots and Beckett's. DRS has been activated. He's looking to go around the outside of Jamie.
Gone around the outside of the Toro Rosso up into 8th position. But back at the front, Fairmoto, who elected not to pit under the virtual safety car, has stayed out and is finding himself under attack from Liverpool Ewan. But that gamble might come to in the end, because the next closest car is his teammate Lazurk, who's 2.3 seconds back now. And the Williams have themselves 7.1 seconds to HK behind, who finds himself in 5th. Is Fairmoto defending for his life for that second place. It would be his second podium in a week, which would become an extremely well, points have been in extremely short order for Williams this season, but they've had a whole flood of them in the past couple of weeks. A second and a fourth for Williams would be a very, very good result for them.
Certainly isn't at the moment. We could talk about Fairmoto. He's under a huge amount of pressure from Liverpool Uni. Goes round the outside, gets the move done. Bear in mind, on pressure tyres, 9-lap all compared to Fairmoto's 18. So at this moment in time, Fairmoto has to be making sure he can manage his tyres to the end. I was expecting him to have to make another pit stop, but obviously with safety car and everything that's been coming out, he's decided to stay out and take the gamble.
Those that didn't pit is HK. Fastest lap for him on the mediums, 130.2 for him. He's done 13 laps on those, and HRC is going to nick it right off him. We have another yellow flag. It's for Ferrari. Is that potentially Ricardo that's gone off? It is indeed. Ricardo off into the grass at Maggots and Beckett's. What was, again, Kendo, going to be a fantastic result for Ferrari, has ended up in the
unbelievable. We've talked about consistency from the top drivers, and it's that sort of thing that pulls you down further and further into the standings. We know the capabilities of the two Ferrari drivers, but for whatever reason this season they just haven't shown their true potential, which is a real shame for them.
This battle for 6 is was ignited, was cooled off ever so slightly, but has been reignited here on lap 21. Jamie Roddy defending from HRC, who has fresh, soft tires at his disposal. He's going to look to use DRS to just blast past the Haas on the hanger straight. That was fairly elementary from the McLaren, and up into 6 for HRC. Back at the front, Kendo Liverpool-Ewan has closed a 1.1 second gap to under 0.8 of a second, and is really starting to somewhat gain on the Renault. He might just actually be biding his time at the moment, but that gap is certainly closing. It's closed by 0.2 of a second, thanks to DRS down the Wellington straight. But you can see, Kendo, this race with about 4.5 laps to go is nowhere near decided yet.
Certainly isn't, and I don't know about you, but you can clearly see Liverpool-Ewan has saved up that ERS that little bit better than DJ Danny, so he'll have a lot more in the tank to be able to attack DJ Danny coming up this back straight after Maggots and Beckett's. As you can see, DRS has been activated from Liverpool-Ewan. He looks to go down around, but not quite close enough to make the move stick on this one. So he's looking to reset and get ready to attack again.
You see there, that gap was under half a second. At one point, has been re-extended to 0.6, but is closing ever so quickly. Battle for 8th, actually, is starting to heat up as well, as James F1 is going to look to try to get past the Toro Rosso of RSF1 Maniac as they head around the final corner and back to the start-finish line. They're going to also have Jamie Roddy in front of them as well for 7th place. Jamie 29. 3-second penalty for him is down the inside. What a move this could be from James F1. Comes back to cover off the move. A great move from the Racing Point up into 8th place for James F1, who's now going to try to hunt down the Haas in front of them, but Maniac is not going to let that one go for long. DRS for himself as they bang wheels ever so slightly through Brooklands they go. James F1 is going to have the move done, and Liverpool-Ewan now back at the front could potentially look to try and overtake DJ Danny. Will he be able to do it on the hanger straight? Only time will tell. He peels to the outside. DJ Danny trying to do everything he can to cover that off. DJ Danny holding the lead for now. But a win here for DJ Danny could be huge in trying to recapture any sort of Drivers' Championship aspirations, because HK has climbed all the way back up into 5th position and is still 3.5 seconds off of the trailing Williams. But Liverpool-Ewan is really exploring this gearbox of the Renault. It's all over the back of him here on the lap 24 of 26.
And it's interesting to see the fact of the two different driving styles of in the DJ Danny and Liverpool-Ewan. Liverpool-Ewan likes to use his gears to brake that little bit more to gain that little bit extra traction in turn, while DJ Danny likes to keep it up in the higher gear to reduce the wheel spin. And could that be the telling factors in the last lap, depending on tyre degradation?
Well, I don't want to take your eyes off of the action for too long, but did Danny and Ewan have any penalties? Could we maybe look into that?
I most certainly will. I'll inform you.
Fantastic. All right, down the hanger straight they go. DRS for Liverpool-Ewan in the Toro Rosso. Looks to peel the outside once more. That seems to be his line of preference, but he's a bit too far back to have any sort of a look this time. DJ Danny slightly wide out of turn 15 as they head into 16, 17, and now heading into turn 18 now, the final corner, as we are on the penultimate lap here at Silverstone. We've seen 4 safety cars, 3 full safety cars, a virtual safety car, and it has resulted in a whole scramble of the grid. James F1 has gotten past Jamie 29, but all eyes are on the front for the battle for the lead of this race. DJ Danny and Liverpool Ewan fighting this one out. They're still fighting Toro Rosso DRS open, the rear wing wide open to provide less drag. Get about 10 more miles an hour, 10 to 12 more miles an hour if you do it right. Ferramoto and Lazurk might actually be having a little squabble between the Williams. They're going to have to be careful, the 2 Williams drivers, because HK is looming in the distance, 1.8 seconds behind. They're still wheel to wheel. It's interesting they're going to fight this one out. Ferramoto holding 3rd position for now, but that battle has costed them almost a full second and a half to the Red Bull behind. Could that potentially open them up to an attack from HK on the final lap? Only time will tell as they peel onto the hangar straight once more. DJ Danny still defending the lead from Liverpool Ewan. And do we have a penalty update?
5 seconds. Yeah, DJ Danny has a 5-second penalty, which as he's getting ready to cross the line for his final lap, he knows he will have that. And the question will remain, will HK know that? However, he's a little bit out of that range at the moment, but anything's possible with HK if he can try and claw that time back. DJ Danny will be aware, so he's going to be trying to get as much distance away from the drivers behind as possible.
Well, that 5-second penalty would only relegate Danny down into 2nd position because Ferramoto is 9.3 seconds behind the leader. As looks like Lazurk and Ferramoto have done the switch, but Ferramoto still fighting back, and now this is the result of the Williams squabbling between themselves. You can see the Red Bull in the background is now going to try and attack Lazurk in the Williams here on the final lap of this race. It's down the inside, does HK of the trailing Williams for 4th position to try to regain as many points as he can. DJ Danny, as he comes down the hangar straight through turn 15 into 16, 17, and 18 for the final time in this race. He'll cross the line first. He won't finish first. It'll be Liverpool Ewan who will take home victory here at Silverstone. DJ Danny, that 5-second time penalty coming back to bite him in the end. Ferramoto rounding the corner now. HK will jump onto the podium due to the fact that apparently both Williams had time penalties to serve, but it's a 4th and 5th finish for the Williams, so a great result from them regardless of exactly where they finished out. That just makes next week even more entertaining because a 2nd and 3rd place from Danny and HK, with Danny leading the way of things and Ryan 97 off of out of the points entirely, has more or less opened up both championships next week, where Monaco could be extremely interesting.
It certainly can, and it just goes to show the determination of HK being able to be as right at the back of the grid to be able to make his way back. And as they say, champions don't give up, and it just shows he's not wanting to lose this championship. So well done for HK for his 3rd place, but well done to Liverpool Ewan, who is your British Grand Prix winner today. Congratulations. Great drive from him.
You see there, Toro Rosso on the top step, but I don't think there's going to be much love lost between Danny and HK on that podium, they will certainly be dueling it out next week at Monaco, which is probably a fitting end to what has been a very interesting season that has really gone back and forth. If you want to usher Ewan and Danny into the party, I know HK doesn't have really any sort of mic. There's Danny. You can hear the mic trailing off in the distance just like so. Crossing the line first didn't quite work out in the end because he had a 5-second time penalty. But you've certainly made things for next week extremely interesting.
Yeah, I think I hope it will be the win once, because I got that 5 seconds under the safety car. I believe I got hit by so under the safety car, which gave me a 5-second penalty. So hopefully in a steward's review that can be put back to the win. But even if a second place just gains some ground, I think the gaps, well, pre any change in order, it's 4.5 points, something like that.
It will be something like that.
Yeah, so it makes Monaco interesting. At least I've closed the gap down. So yeah, it was a back and forth race. At one point HK was ahead, I was ahead, and then HK spun, and then I was. It was just that race was all over the place. So and the safety cars didn't help.
Yeah, the safety cars seemed to throw everyone a curveball. Really, at any point that it came out, just in terms of the pace that you had. I mean, you had pole position nicked off you just as you crossed the line, but you weren't questioning your pace as many, I think, were this week. It was just a matter of really the safety cars coming out. Or how was your strategy affected by that? Because did you think it was going to be a 1 or a 2, and then it turned into just this kind of smorgasbord of pit stops?
So the first 2 safety cars, I was like, there's no point in pitting, because stick to the strategy. I was planning on pitting on lap 12 on to the mediums, because then you get the best life out of the softs and the mediums. But yeah, the safety car came out on lap 3 and then lap 8, and then the final nail in the coffin was the 3rd one, which meant I built up a decent gap, but it wasn't enough to obviously get in front of the lot that had pitted under the 2nd safety car. But for some reason, a load of people pitted under that safety car, and then under the VSC as well, which I think didn't help the likes of James. But I think it would have been tough to get them softs to the end. But yeah, unfortunately, the VSC ended at the wrong time for all them guys.
Well, Ewan, will go over to you. I mean, it's depending on how this plays out. If Danny gets his penalty removed, but a great result. You guys put on quite the show for us the last 6 laps of that race.
Yeah, no, it was a good race. Had a bit of a poor start, and everything just seemed to go wrong for me. Got wing damage, but yeah, no, I fought back. I tried to go past Danny a couple of times, but I just couldn't get past him. Then on the final lap, my DRS was broken, and I got that on the final lap, which was so annoying. So I thought I'd lost it. I didn't know he had a penalty. But yeah, it turned out he did. If that gets removed, I don't know. But no, anyway, it was a good race.
And how important were the safety cars for you? Because you mentioned that poor start, and then you took the wing damage at one point as well. Did those bring you back into the race, and how much of an effect do you think those had on your race here today?
I think the first 2 were actually quite annoying, because I was sort of starting to get into the swing of things, and but the last one really helped, because then I could change my front wing and go onto the medium. So that sort of, I got a bit lucky with that one. But yeah, the first 2 I suppose didn't overly help me out too much.
Well, lads, it was a great show from the 2 of you. we will see you guys next week at the season finale in Monaco. What a place to end off a season there. We'll spray some champagne for you guys, nevertheless. But anyway, for myself, for Kendo, thank you very much for watching. We will see you in Monaco next week.